welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we're going to talk about spring and plants and a great way you can get some plants to help out your yard. My guest is Master Gardener Carol King. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
So the Master Gardeners have 2 plant sales a year.
We do. We have one in the spring and one in the fall. We try to have the spring one the weekend before Mother's Day.
Always a helpful thing. The thing is, I'm helping to publicize this, but I don't want to help publicize this because it is the best place to get plants for a really good price, and I don't want other people to come. I want all the plants.
Well, with any luck, this year we're going to have a fair amount of plants. The date is April 30th, Saturday. And we open the gates at 9 o'clock, and we will be finished by noon.
And it really is a good idea to get there at 9 o'clock.
Well, usually, there's generally a line by 9. What we're going to try, though, during the COVID, we had several iterations of either online and we found by letting about 50, 60 people in initially, and then more people in as people leave, it kept the crowds much more manageable, and you could actually see the plants and shop faster.
Well, and I will say, you guys do this cool thing because when you buy a plant, it isn't generally speaking flowering unless it happens to be the right time of year. So you usually have pictures up and some descriptions, and you have things grouped, which is really helpful too. So shade plants are here, herbs are here. You can go to the section you're most interested in.
And we also, one of the things about the plant sale is it is not just an opportunity to fund our charitable operations, but it is an opportunity to educate. So we try to have 30 or 40 master gardeners there the day of the plant sale. Some of them are running checkout, some of them are resupplying, but quite a lot of our people will be just there to talk to people. So if you come and you don't know what you'd like to plant, then we can talk to you. Do you have sun or shade, or what is your purpose? Mm-hmm. Is something like that hosta ground cover going to do you a good job, or do you have a rabbit issue? In which case.
And that's what's so helpful because I love plants. I love to plant. I have a big garden. I don't know that much. I'm learning as I go. So being able to talk to you guys is really helpful.
Yeah, and it's, really it's one of the main reasons for doing this. This is a volunteer project for us, and it has the benefit of us learning as we go along because we propagate all our own plants. This came out of somebody's yard. I think I even know who. In fact, there's the initials on it. And she happens to have a lot of them, and so every couple of years she thins them out and brings them in, and we pot them up and save them. This Solomon seal then will be very nice. I got some in my garden from her. This comes up in the spring, and it stays up until the fall, and then it dies back, and they gradually spread. And it's a shade plant. It's a forest floor kind of shade plant, as is that hosta there is a shade plant.
As we say, I do have a very shady yard. Hostas, to me, are amazing because you can ignore them.
Yes.
And they go away in the winter. They completely die back, and you think it's gone, but it's sort of like a bulb. It shoots right back up, but each year it gets bigger and taller.
It actually has, and then there's a center, kind of a meat of the root. If you ever try to dig them up and divide them, which is very easy to do, generally done in the fall or in the spring when the first tips come up.
When the little shoots are up.
But if it's gotten out to have, a foot across, then it's got a fairly large mass of connected root that's turned a little woody, and then these shoots come out of it.
Interesting.
So this way we learn how these plants grow.
Right.
So the one.
Obviously, this one was either grown in a greenhouse or mine are slow, because mine are about this tall right now.
This one was actually that was potted up last year, and so it was in its pot, sitting out in the open, in the shade. And it just germinated a little earlier than that because
These also have a flower.
yes, and the flower comes out in usually, depends on the hosta, somewhere between June and August. And they stick up,
They're
depends
fun.
on the plant.
Right.
Stick up this much to this much with a kind of a tubular flower that's either white or light purple.
Yeah, I think mine are purple.
And they're, the bumblebees like to go in them. I watch them. In the
So speaking of bees, one, you said that it was a fundraiser and educational, but the third thing it is a lot of what you're propagating are native plants.
Correct.
They're good for the area, they're good for the bees, they're good for all kinds of wildlife. And, we've destroyed a lot of the wildlife habitats.
Yeah.
And so building back with plants that are good for the kinds of bees that live here is beneficial to the entire city and really people beyond our borders.
And things that you may not find, and that's the other thing we try to do is and we're increasingly going in that direction of native plants and things that you're not going to find in a big box store, or you may find them in a good nursery if they're into native plants, but
They're hard to find. A
they're little
lot of
harder.
them are very hard
So
to
for
find.
example, the golden Alexander there,
Which one is that?
that's the one on the outside.
Okay.
There you go. Golden Alexander there. It's just starting to come into bloom. If you, it has a yellow flower, which
Oh, you can see, look, it's just starting.
they're just starting
Yep.
to open, but they'll be yellow. And this is one of the host plants for the swallowtail butterflies. Yes. So they will go. There was one in my garden yesterday,
Really?
or the day before, I guess. Was laying its eggs on parsley. So that they go to parsley first, then they go to the fennel and some of the others.
I was going to say fennel is the
Fennel
one
is
I
it,
have that just
right,
always
yes.
gets.
And then this is another choice. The thing is, this will grow in part shade.
Ooh, I need some of those.
Yes, and they spread gradually. So I planted 3 or 4, and I have a section about like that is up and starting to bloom right now. And it stays up just looking kind of leafy the rest of the summer, and then it dies back. But it comes back. It's a perennial.
Oh, good.
So,
That's also,
and
so
it's native.
perennials, and a lot of what you sell are perennials. It just makes gardening easier because they do come back. And native plants that are from this area are also easier to grow because they're suited to this area. Many of them can
Right.
take our summer heat, can take less water and things like that. So it helps all around. So let's talk about some more of these.
Yes, and in fact, so this one is the Virginia Sweet Spire. It's just starting. This one is a shrub. The woody part stays up in the winter, and then it leaves out no, just a couple weeks ago, and then it's starting to get its flowers. These
Oh, you can barely see it. I don't think they'll be able to see that on
It's
TV.
a- it's
There's
a-
little spikes coming
it's
out.
a spike, and it's going to get about so long, and kind of go like that, and then it's white, and then that's really neat, and it's native. And
Now, how much sun does that need?
this is full sun to part shade.
Okay.
The more sun, the more flowers.
All right.
But the
That's
thing it will
helpful.
do is it forms a little bit of a thicket. So it's not rampant, but it does.
It's spread.
it
Will
will-
it choke out some weeds? That's the other thing
Yes,
I
it
need.
does. Yes, it does. Actually, it really does, because it makes it's not dense, but it makes a body of green that's just kind of lightweight. This is a particular variety that the leaves are a little smaller than the straight species.
Okay.
But and this came from my garden, and they're about that high, and they make a nice hedge, as I said. And then every couple of years, I just go and dig
Pull
out
out new shoots.
the ones that have got too far away from the mother plant. But the other good thing about it is it has a beautiful fall color. It turns a nice red
Oh, wonderful.
in fall, so you get basically 3 seasons out of it.
That's
so it's kind of
great.
neat. And then in
All
terms
right.
of shrubs, I got one more over here. This is also a native. Not all viburnums are native. This one is. This is an Arrowwood Viburnum. That they bloom. Most of them bloom in the spring.
Okay, tell us what real people call that. That don't use the
Unfortunately.
term viburnum. They really, that's the, okay.
Yeah, they're
A lot
really
of them have nicknames,
a
you
lot-
know?
Yep. A like the sweet spire, which is Itea virginica, but we call it sweet spire.
Okay.
But this one, no, viburnums are called viburnums.
All right.
And then the flowers they'll fill out some more.
They're
but
beautiful.
the viburnums are interesting. There's a huge range of them, and there's only about 5 or 6 that are native to the U.S.
Now, do they bloom at this time of year, or
Yes.
is that one that's been, okay. And do they keep blooming, or is it one and done? I'm fond of the ones
Some of them will bloom off and on. The viburnums, mostly they bloom once, and then they bloom for a couple of weeks. And this might get, if it's happy, you could get 4 to 6 feet of a bush.
Wow.
So this is a woody shrub, which is a nice landscape feature. And they will take part shade. They will take full sun, but they will take part shade. So then, in terms of things we talked about, natives, and all of that is good, but then we have climate change going on.
True.
And one of the things that we know is that the world of plants gives us some more options. So if our climate is getting hotter, then we may want to look at plants that are adapted to drier, hotter conditions.
Right,
Or
right.
wetter, or whatever it is. So this is one that is actually from Europe, but it's a really good choice for the hot garden. That's catmint.
Ooh, can I take a leaf and smell it?
Sure. Catmint ornepita is its, but it doesn't have a
I
lot.
get a strong mint
Yeah.
smell, but it's not a regular mint that I'm used to.
No, and you can tell
Is it related to catnip?
it is related. They have the same genus name, and I couldn't find the one for cat. Well, anyway, I was
But
looking it
people
up.
could try it and see what
This is-
happens
this
if
is
they
catmint.
feel the
Well-
need to drug their cats.
Anyway, but this is a really good rock garden plant. I have it in a couple places in my garden where it's full sun and it's a little hard to get to it to water. So you don't need to water it.
Now, I got mountain mint at your sale a few years ago,
And you have
and
lots?
that is doing beautifully.
Different choice, but anyway, my notion is that this comes from places that are
That are a
hotter and
little
drier,
hotter and drier than
and so
us.
this can be a good choice for a situation where our natives aren't going to work. In our urban environments, it tends to be hotter and drier.
More asphalt, more people.
So that yes, the mountain mint, I didn't bring one. They're
Mine's coming up. It's about
they're
that tall
just
so
coming
far.
up. Yeah, I have a big patch of it myself. It is such in the middle of one of the things in the middle of summer when the flowers are out. Well, that one comes up more midsummer and then into August. But they're little tiny flowers, and they're up so high, and that is particularly good for the beneficial insects, because those little tiny flowers attract the little tiny wasps that help control bad insects.
Ah.
Okay, so the little tiny wasps, they're no threat to us, but they will lay their eggs in other insects and do away with them that way.
That's great.
Yeah, the one thing about the mountain mint, or like any
Mint.
this
Anything
one-
that has the word mint in it is
right,
going to spread.
well, the catmint doesn't spread as
Oh.
nearly as much. It just makes a big mound, and it has purple flowers, which are really neat, and then they're all over insects when that happens. The other mints, you need to put it in some kind of mine's in a bed that's the garage is there and the walkway is there, and
So it's a little bit
another
confined.
walkway there. So
Yeah, mine's spreading like crazy. All my real mints are in pots. I mean, my peppermint and my
Right.
mojito mint.
yeah. That's I didn't plant that mint in that bed, but there it is. And but I find that it's about a 2.5, 3 foot sidewalk, and it doesn't.
Go on, under.
That's too far.
Okay.
It doesn't make it if you can mow around it.
Well, so now we're going to get to the other reason this is my favorite plant sale in the entire world, is the prices.
Right.
Tell us, in general, you don't have to specifically name, but in general, what is your price range?
so we look at, what we want to do is we need to cover our costs with a little. Now, we make our own potting soil. We, we reuse pots. We buy them if we have to, but we clean or we reuse, and we, as I said, propagate our own plants. We get last year's seeds from stores and things, and that they can't sell anymore. So we harvest our own seeds, so we can sell things more cheaply, and then we're trying to get them in people's hands and in people's yards, because we really want to get more good plants out there. So we're looking at roughly $3 to $5.
Like, it's incredible. It's incredible. You
now
can fill a wagon and not spend that much money at all.
Right. It's something that's particularly interesting, unique, odd, not often found. A nice big specimen, maybe, $8 or $10.
Mm-hmm. It's still an incredible deal.
Yeah.
And
And
excuse me.
houseplants too.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. You also have vegetables. You also have herbs. You also have things that aren't necessarily native, but many of us grow them because we like cut flowers or bulbs. You have a lot of bulbs, a lot of lilies, a lot of daylilies, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
It varies year to year.
Yeah, it does. We got too many of the, basic daylily, and honestly, if you grow any daylilies at all, you have to divide them periodically.
Pretty frequently.
Daylilies
right.
and irises. So we have them.
But I love iris. They're so easy to grow. You don't even have to plant them that deep. They're awesome.
You actually need to not plant them.
I
that deep.
know.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah, although you have to dig them up every couple of years. So, yeah.
But we like to share, right? So I dig them up. I give them to people. It's like, I need some yellows. Here's some purples. I've got some purple and white, a lot of.
Right.
I bring them into the office, cut flowers. It's beautiful.
It is, really. And then there's a group of us that are have spent extra time studying and working with trees. And so there are some trees to be had, and they're little. A lot of our things, that's one of the things to understand, is that this is pretty good size for us.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Usually, this is our standard pot. And so if we have things that are in bigger pots, and if they've been around for a while, we take care of it, and then it just gets bigger and goes in a bigger pot, and so you get a better deal. But we tend, little things, the vegetables and all that, they're little herb pots. You can find those square guys, or we've discovered that solo cups with holes punched in the bottom are about the same volume. And so we do a lot of the annuals, little things, or starter plants may come in those little solo cups. And then the idea is you take that, which is then cheaper, of course, and you put it in your pot, in your garden, whatever you're going to do. You can reuse the solo cup to grow some more for yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. Or if not, then it's not that bad as far as the waste goes. But the point is that you don't like you may go into a nursery that's trying to sell you proven winners, wonderful, really nice plants that have been grown in nurseries and developed to be bushy and all in bloom, and ours are smaller.
You have to wait a little longer.
They're starter plants, and so that is actually a better plant. In the case of specifically trees, as long as you can protect it from the lawnmower or deer or whatever, if you can plant a little one and let its roots grow in the ground from the beginning, that will be a healthier tree for the whole rest of its life. And it will also, if you buy a big one that's had to have its roots cut to fit in the pot or the ball, it's going to take an extra year or 2 or 3 for it to catch up, while this little one is growing from the start, is growing.
Yeah.
So if you can have the mental discipline to look at the picture, say that's what's going to be, and this year I'm going to start it and I'll enjoy it and it'll be small and next year it'll be bigger. And, you know,
Gardening is a long-term process. I mean, you see a lot of things each year, but sometimes it
Yeah.
takes a while to build. And then once it gets big, you're like, oh, well, the things that are now under it, I might have to move some of those.
well, and you have, yeah, it is a living, the plants are living beings. So you don't, the whole notion that you can wave your magic wand and you can have the set arrives and everything is planted, that's all very well. You can do that. You can order up, you know, the full-size hydrangea.
But it's gonna, well, I guess if it's full size, it won't keep getting bigger. But yeah,
Well, it may, but it will also those plants will spend longer getting used to the ground they're in. They'll need more water to start with. They'll need more care. And they're not going to, the plants around it aren't going to become a community nearly as quickly. And what you really want to do is have your plants growing together. So this one and that golden Alexander right there.
I love this.
Yes, they're so pretty. But they grow very, very well together, along with I've got ferns in the same bed with them.
There we go. We're talking our shade now. I don't
Yeah.
have any ferns. I'm going to have to look into that.
We don't have very many yet. I'm working on developing a whole lot more ferns because I've been growing them at home. And they are at the point now where I can start dividing some of them. And then we'll have ferns. It's
Carol, how many people do this? How many master gardeners are doing this in their backyards or in a small greenhouse or
Right.
cold frame and dividing and bringing it in and donating plants for this sale?
Well, there's about 60 to 65 to 70 of us in this unit. Now, there are Master Gardener plant sales all around us. So York Pocoson's having one, they're having the week after. And James City County, Williamsburg, and I think Newport News. But there are like 4,500 Master Gardeners in Virginia.
Wow.
The Cooperative Extension does a really good job of running the Master Gardener program. In most of our units, there's 60 Master Gardener units, I think.
Now, I'm going to say ours is the best, right? Obviously,
Well-
ours is awesome.
Each one is, that's what cooperative means. It's a combination of USDA, state, land grant university,
Virginia Tech.
and
mostly, yeah.
Virginia State, and then the locality, and each of those buys in and helps fund the office. And so each locality determines what mix of cooperative extension programs they want. Do they want 4-H? Do they want family consumer services? You know, all those things. Do they want master gardeners? And then the agents are tailored. So we have a full-time horticultural agent and a 4-H agent
That's great.
here.
Now, did we say where this plant sale was? Because I
We
don't
did
remember
not.
if we did.
We did
April
not.
30th, 9 a.m.
At Bluebird Gap Farm, 60 Pine Chapel Road. It's just opposite the Bass Pro Shop. And there's a sign out front, Bluebird Gap Farm, and there's a Master Gardener plant sale sign right there.
And while you're there, there's a gorgeous Master Gardener kept garden.
Right.
And all kinds of things around that area too. You know, you think of it as just kind of being a place you take kids for,
Right.
you know, petting zoo and stuff. But there's a lot more going on
It's
in
not
Bluebird
actually
Gap.
a petting zoo. You're not supposed to.
You get to pet the goats.
Yeah, if they come close enough to the fence, you can.
They
yeah.
usually do.
Yeah,
They're
and
pretty darn friendly.
They are. So the Bluebird Gap Farm itself is, there's the area that is the park, it's like close to 60 acres, but that includes a lot of
huge.
water.
I know. I've never been
So that-
out. I've been in the water there. I've put a kayak in.
Yeah, but there's about 10 acres inside the fence. 2 of those acres are arboretum, which is basically, that was a pasture. Part of it was our original Master Gardener demo area from the mid-'80s.
Oh wow.
And then in 2007, it was expanded to the full 2 acres that we have. That was pasture, and so we've been growing there's sun plants and shade plants and quite a lot of different
So you
kinds
can
of
come at
trees.
different times and see
there's
different
there's-
kinds of plants in bloom and all that.
There's always something in bloom.
Okay.
'Cause there's a nice camellia section too.
We're
Anyway,
going to end on there's always something in bloom.
sounds good.
And tell people where they can get it. April 30th, 9 a.m., Bluebird Gap Farm. Best plant sale in the universe, most affordable. And it allows you to try things that you might not try otherwise and to find things that you might not find otherwise.
And you can find us, if you want the information on any of this, you can find us at the website for Hampton Master Gardeners.
Okay.
So,
We'll make sure we've got that promoted on our website as well. But thank you so much for coming and
thank
giving
you,
us this
Robin.
garden lesson.
thank you so much. Me and the plants, we really appreciate it.
All right. And thank you for watching. I hope you will come to this sale, think about getting some native plants and maybe some other plants, but help make Hampton, as you know, we are a bee city, help make Hampton friendlier to bees and other pollinators, and also all those plants and roots help absorb water, keep the runoff down so we're not polluting our waterways. It's great all around and it's beautiful. Thanks for watching.